Solar Crown Friends. Mate, the performance on this has completely changed. I swear to you, you saw it in the previous one. It was running okay before. Anyway, I wanted to jump in because there are some things that absolutely need to be discussed with this update. What is happening? How is it running worse than it was before? What is this? So people have spent a little bit of time on this update now, and they've actually discovered something pretty interesting. Bro, I don't understand why it's running like this. So shout out to Alex for this video. This is basically demonstrating an area that we can't access right now.
We can explore, but the weird part about that is that it says 6 out of 10. So where's the other 4 districts?
So yes, we can get out of bounds now and explore some of the areas that aren't currently done yet. Now, which is pretty obvious because the map that we did get, it's not huge. In fact, in this very video, when he opens the map, it actually shows you for a second an area up here that he is in that is actually laid out with like that's just pretty hilarious, actually. Using the out of bounds glitch to get to that area, basically, they're clearly forming a larger area, and that was to be expected. It's not the full area that we got. Now, this was at the end of my previous video, but it is super important, so here's a small snippet.
Our priority will be to make sure that TDU truly becomes TDU again.
Okay, Donald Trump. I wanted to talk about this area, the good things and the bad things, with a clear mind, with a clear sense of basically what this is like, with the music on. Actually, this is the in-game music, which I still don't know if I'm 100% behind. It's a really cool area, and ultimately, so much better than the hub space, which is the hotel in the previous one. I think, as a hub space, this is better. Especially when you come in here and there's like proximity chat and you're speaking with people, which doesn't tend to happen because, you know, no one's playing in my region. That is going to bring us on to the biggest issues, which we've previously discussed. And I think now that they've realistically got the time, because they cancelled the next update, they've got to start thinking about how can we get the players that are here together. I don't care about lag or anything. The game already is quite rough. And be honest, I'm actually a person that doesn't mind rough games as long as they have stuff to do. That's what's lacking in this game. They have the racing down. It's not perfect, but hey, it's not something I'm interested in. It's the thing that I'm going to do to get to where I want to be. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk about, actually, these saline cars. I initially said, oh, they're kind of crap, kind of useless, kind of pointless, doesn't really make any sense. This was before I found out, like, one cool thing. Don't want to give them all the benefit in the world, but these saline cars that are genuinely just stickered cars, not even a body kit or anything. They do have some cool quirks that I want to give credit for. This Abarth is rear-wheel drive, which to be fair, is kind of cool. So they do some strange changes to them. This one is all-wheel drive, for example, so it's like a rally edition. So there's at least that. But beyond that, I quite frankly think it's just fluff. Oh, look, a person. Should I turn my chat on? It's gonna... Hello? Doesn't care. Is it actually properly rear-wheel drive? It is! That's actually really dope. I don't know what's happening with the performance of the game right now. It's a little funny and all over the place. I don't... Man, I'm confused. It was running decently fine, like, when I first played it. Another point I saw is the mirrors. Have they got considerably worse? Maybe. Which I feel like, again, I argued in the crew, it's not necessary to really have mirrors, to be honest, but it definitely feels like, in this game, like, cruising is one of the main points. There's a little bit of a downgrade in terms of that. Okay, Ibiza. I quite like the map. Gonna be totally honest. I do think the map is really nicely set up to allow us to have different shops and locations. They could absolutely use some of these as clothing shops and salons and things like that, because they're going to start talking about adding in TDU features, as you saw in the clip. And if they're going to be doing that, ultimately, I want to see some more clothing shops, more variety, and ultimately not making it so it's an impossible, just stupid grind to do so. And I really thought of a really kind of fun idea that I thought would actually be pretty cool. So we want different types of shops, and ultimately what we want is houses. That's something that really is obviously needed for this game. So if we're gonna do that, and we have all these potential locations for houses, which I want to find some really cool locations that would be really good for houses. Boats, for example, would be a really good one. What if we had, like, I'm talking about racing here. What if we had, like, an IKEA? In TDU2, you could actually swap out the furniture that you could use in your property. What if you could actually, you know, go to IKEA and buy it? Hey, and since it's Ibiza, what if we had a drug dealer? Okay, no. I don't honestly, though, thinking about, like, genuinely to add to this game to make it a fully fleshed test drive experience. That is ultimately obviously what we need. Separate locations, for example, for the clothing, they've already kind of got something like that, because if you go to these areas, you've got dressing. This is just to change your clothes. We've lost the apartment as such, which definitely feels like a step back as to asking us to what we want. But there are some really cool locations that I think would make really good house locations. But really, is that enough? I'm one that's absolutely advocating for that. Like, they need these properties. They need them. But I hate to really throw this at them, but we need some form of progression in terms of like a story guiding us through. I think the looseness of it is really going to downplay anything else they really do. The problem is, I don't want to doom and gloom it, because ultimately, even Need for Speed Unbound, the multiplayer with the launch, I thought it was doomed. But Unbound really turned it around, and I think a lot of games need to look at that and really see what they did. They ultimately saw what was missing that makes a Need for Speed game Need for Speed for many people. This area is so nice. And they fixed it. Just by adding Razor, the newest update is clearly the biggest of the updates, at least in terms of from what I've seen. The Underground update and the Most Wanted updates, ultimately the biggest. And I think the biggest pull was actually characters. They clearly may be stepping on the beginning of that with this update. They added Tess Wintory into it. She literally has one voice line, and she never speaks to us ever again, which tells me that was a late addition. They thought, we really have nothing here and we should probably get started with. I would love one of these apartments. I think the apartments here would be sick. Oh mate, imagine we're just living in this like castle. Is this a house? I'm kind of curious. There's a door and a window, and yeah, mate, I could live in here, no problem. Just big castle in front of someone else's apartment. But I do still fundamentally worry that they won't be able to get there. This update was clearly well underway beforehand, but there's clearly some last minute additions. At least it feels like it, because, I mean, the Tess Winter, I don't know. It just kind of screams it. To be clear, before we get started in this, this is the player count, and clearly on the update day, they got a significant uptick of players from the normal 200 to 1,200, and this is just on PC. 100% honest, clear, PC is likely the least popular platform, so it gives us a very marginal number, because consoles are just the popular option, especially in a game that requires a like NASA grade PC, and I say a NASA grade PC to actually get it to run. But if we look at the scheme of things, it's kind of dropped off pretty quickly. Even after the first day, we drop about half of the players, and there's a reason for that. And when I jumped in, really, we look at the map and there's genuinely not much to it. I look at 3 months and we didn't even get a blip of to a couple of months after launch. A new island wasn't enough to convince people to come back in the masses. Of course, people were interested, and I think I perceived that, yes, people were quite well interested in the idea of Ibiza, but initially in itself, that's not what people were expecting. It's what people needed. And I think it's a little confusing in a couple of areas, because listen, how game development works is everyone has their own thing that they work on. So you've got the handling people working on new handling. You've got the car designers and part designers working on those specific things. You've got the race designers working on the races. That may be a little different because they could just be general designers. So they might not particularly be working on races. They might be working on like the whole introduction to Ibiza and so on. But you get all of those independent, different people working on their own elements of the game. And I still don't get what the hell most of them have done during this update. What we've got, my friends, is like 4 or 5 races, okay? I'm sure there's more if we do them. Yeah, there's more now than there was before. So there's races on the island, and that's it. Like, what else were you doing? Like, the handling team, were they really just making those saline cars? Like, what, genuinely, what are you doing? You're telling me all of these people, like the character designers and they made like 2 characters. No, 1. Tess Winter, the one character. I guess maybe all the people in that area were individually designed, you know, not just randomly generated. Like, I could go right through your living room if I wanted to. Oh, I'm stuck. No, I'm not. Like, the map clearly had the most amount of work, and this is something they were working on way before the launch of the game, for sure. Which, again, odd move. They spent all this time working on one area, and instantly, first update, they go, yep, let's make a whole brand new area. It is just incredibly confusing. And I think, I really, it's becoming pretty obvious to me that the issue is kind of the management. We've said this before, when they said something was a little bit confusing, to be fair, when it was translated slightly wrong, but they said the main objective of the game is racing. Okay, they meant specifically this game. It got mistranslated to the point of people going, oh yeah, test drive, that has to be racing. It is a little confusing. But man, oh, this area is stunning. If they want, you know, if it was on how the game looks from a go, generally most of the time this looks incredible. We actually got more properties. There's more outlines of buildings over there, man. That artifacting is kind of crazy. But look at these. Oh man, I cannot wait for the higher up areas and stuff in this beautiful, stunning location. Wow. I don't know, it shows to me that they really didn't have trust in the main island of Hong Kong very quickly. But that's it. I don't think that's the issue. That's not the problem. I think Hong Kong could have been a cool location if they fleshed it out. But also, maybe they started working on this when they realized Hong Kong wouldn't probably allow the casino because gambling is illegal. You know, I think that is the one... Okay, two things I would say that Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown... Where those birds just sat in the air. Oh no, they're up there. Oh, they're moving around. Oh my god, they're trying to squash. Look at these birds. What the f? They're flat. What the f? Bro, bird. Oh my god, it was in. Oh, I killed it. The world. This is the best the worlds have ever been. They are dense and interesting. I think it's a little flawed, if I'm honest, in terms of how the handling and the world go together. I think the small world is demonstrating as to why most games don't really go for a small world. It's not super exciting when you get to low speeds. I think maybe with a higher sense of speed, that would have been better. But world design as like a cruising experience, really nice. I like it. And I gotta be honest, the physics are better. But if you didn't play the previous Test Drive games, you might think the physics are a little bit wonky, which is fair. They are just a little cumbersome and weird. Oh, yo, could we buy this? This would be pretty cool to buy. I would like to. I don't know, though. It might be a little... Oh, hello. There's a lady up there. She come with the house. Oh, it would be all Test Drive. Yeah, boy. I think some meaning is basically what's needed. And if they added meaning behind test driving, I think that would be pretty cool, actually. So just like in the previous test drives, they should allow you to drive and deliver vehicles. And that's a good way to test drive cars and get an idea as another way to progress. Because honestly, I think the racing's just kind of shit. It's just not enjoyable, and we need something else. Test Drive could be about party games. It could really do a really good job, I think, of like party-style games. If Need for Speed can do something like that, then I think any game like a Test Drive, like a Ibiza location could do a really good job at that. But as it stands, I think overall, I'm significantly worried. I think 3 months is not that long away. I waited for the Need for Speed Unbound updates, and that was absolutely fine. Like, I was really happy with the contents of those, and they focused on the gameplay. I just worry the next pass is going to be the premium pass. They're going to make us pay for the content in the pass, and that's kind of what they're relying on, I imagine. And it's just not going to work. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I don't know if anyone will buy that pass. Maybe I can think of like 3 people. Anyway, Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. How do you feel after now it's been a week of processing? I definitely need to jump back in. Needed to jump back in again just for the sake of, you know, I've got the awards show coming up, my friends. Get ready to be voting on that. We do need to give the biggest poo award. And the biggest poo award right now is either Test Drive or Forza Motorsport. And I feel like it's leaning one way more than the other, which is a shame because the area is so... It's really nice. It's decent. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Just kind of feel sad, to be honest. A little bit sad. How do you feel? Here's the other video of me first exploring it. It's kind of funny.